Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back in another video today, and today is the NBA draft. I am so excited for this. While the NBA draft is today, I'm going to be doing my final 2023 NBA mock draft, and let's get into it. Before I do start this mock draft, I want to say that I will be live streaming the NBA draft tonight, doing a live stream watch party. If you're free and you're watching the draft and you stop by if you can, want to interact with people, not only just fellow Rockets fans, other fans of different teams, see what people's thoughts are on the draft, potential draft trades as well. So if you're available, come stop by because it's going to be a fun night in general for the NBA and for the watch party. So it's going to be a fun night. But before we get to the NBA draft, we're 6 hours away. Let's get into my mock draft, final 2023 NBA mock draft, the full first round. Let's get into it. So at 1, I have the San Antonio Spurs selecting Scoot. No, I'm just kidding. At 1, I have the San Antonio Spurs, of course, selecting Victor Wembanyama. And I've been going back and forth at pick 2 and pick 3. At first I was Brandon Miller. So first I said the Hornets were going to select Scoot Henderson. Then I said Brandon Miller. Then I went back to Scoot. And then I went back to Brandon Miller. I've been like the Hornets. The Hornets have been back and forth between these two guys, but I've made my final decision who I think the Hornets will draft. I think the Hornets have as well. The Hornets will be drafting Scoot Henderson in tonight's draft, which makes that very easy. It makes it easier for the Portland Trailblazers at 3 and drafting Brandon Miller from Alabama. Brandon Miller is going to be a great fit for the Portland Trailblazers. And to be honest with you guys, if Brandon Miller were to go 2 to the Hornets and Scoot Henderson would have gone 3 to the Blazers, I don't see Damian Lillard liking that. Brandon Miller's a different story. He's a good scorer. He's a good three-point shooter. He's kind of at a position where they kind of need some help at that position. He has good size. While Scoot Henderson, they already have a lot of talent at his position for the Blazers. They have Dame, they have Simons, they have Shane Sharp. The Blazers really wouldn't need Scoot Henderson. So, honestly, for the Blazers, if they're not able to trade this pick today, them giving Scoot Henderson going 2 for the Hornets is actually really good for the Blazers because then they get Brandon Miller. I think Brandon Miller is a better fit for the Blazers. I don't think Scoot Henderson's a good fit for the Blazers with all the guards they have. I don't think Dame would be happy about it, even though Scoot Henderson is a generational talent. So I think both sides win for the Hornets and Blazers at 2 and 3. I think the Hornets get Scoot Henderson, pair him up with LaMelo Ball, which would, honestly, for me, in my opinion, would think Terry Rozier would be traded pretty soon after that because, you got Scoot Henderson coming in to play with LaMelo Ball in the backcourt. Terry Rozier would most likely be traded this offseason. I would think they could get maybe a first-round pick and a solid player back for Terry Rozier. But I think that the Hornets will select Scoot Henderson and that the Blazers will select Brandon Miller. Both really good players, but I think, honestly, I thought that Brandon Miller would fit the Hornets way better than Scoot Henderson would, but it's not going to stop the Hornets from drafting Scoot Henderson. But that is good for the Blazers because I think Brandon Miller is a way better fit for the Blazers than Scoot Henderson is. Then at 4, my Houston Rockets at 4. I think all Rockets fans know who we would draft after that. Even though you can kind of think about it, maybe Cam Whitmore, maybe Jarice Walker. It's going to be Amen Thompson for the Houston Rockets, and add him in with that 4th overall pick. He's going to bring some great athleticism on offense and some great defense, especially with this Rockets defense trying to improve this season. He will be great for the Rockets. Him and Jalen Green will be flashy, and it will be fun to watch together. Then at 5, the Pistons. I have the Pistons selecting Jarice Walker. Great defensively. I think pairing him in the backcourt with pairing him in the front court with Jalen Duren for defensively, shot blocking. Him and Jalen Duren are going to be great together. I do see the Pistons selecting Jarice Walker tonight, even though they have interest in Ausar Thompson. So I have the Pistons selecting Jarice Walker. Great defensive player, great shot blocker, great in the paint, good offensive player as well. I think, and then especially as a Cougars fan, watching him almost every night, I think the Pistons will be really good off. I think this will be a really good pick for the Pistons, getting Jerice Walker. Then at 6, I have the Orlando Magic selecting Anthony Black from. Did Black go to UCF? I think he went to UCF. I'm not too sure. Yeah, I think he did. No, he went to Arkansas. I thought he went to UCF. Oh, that was Taylor Hendricks that went to UCF. But Anthony Black, his draft stock has been rising up, and I think the Magic will go ahead and take Anthony Black here. Kind of need a shooting guard / small forward. If that's the position they need most. They don't really need a small forward or / power forward. They don't really need a center. They definitely don't need a point guard. So I think the shooting guard / small forward position is a position that the Magic are going to go after in tonight's draft and go ahead and get Anthony Black at the 6th overall pick. Then at pick 7, I have the Indiana Pacers selecting Cam Whitmore, and I love Cam Whitmore. I think he's going to fit very well in that Pacers squad. Where did he play this year? He played for Villanova and averaged 16 and 7. Really good offensive player, good rebounder as well. I think he'll be a great fit for the Indiana Pacers. And so Cam Whitmore goes 7. Then at 8, I have the Wizards drafting Ausar Thompson, just like his brother Amen, a great defensive player, better 3-point shooter than Amen. That's really the only worry for the Rockets drafting Amen Thompson is his 3-point shooting. But he's a better 3-point shooter than his brother. He's a little bit taller. So I think the Wizards, after trading Kristaps Porzingis and trading Bradley Beal and not getting a lot back in return, I think Ausar Thompson would be a great fit for the Wizards and some of their young players that they have. So I think the Wizards will draft Ausar Thompson at 8. Then at 9, I have the Jazz selecting Taylor Hendricks at the power forward position. I think he's a good fit for the Jazz, and he's not a good 3-point. He's not a great 3-point shooter, but he's a solid rebounder, I believe. Yeah. This season, UCF had 15 and 7. He's a solid defensive player as well because he averaged 2 blocks per game. So I think he'd be a good fit for. I think he'd be a really good fit for the Utah Jazz and would help them in the starting lineup. Laurie would move to the small forward position. That's the only thing that's tricky about this Taylor Hendricks selection is if you want him to be a starter, which he might come off the bench for you, I guess Lauri Markkanen would move to the small forward for the Jazz. Then at 10, I have a trade between the Atlanta Hawks and the Dallas Mavericks. I have the Atlanta Hawks doing a trade with the Dallas Mavericks that sends pick 15 and Clint Capella to the Dallas Mavericks. And in return, pick 10, Davis Bertans and JaVale McGee get sent to the Atlanta Hawks. And with pick 10, I have the Atlanta Hawks selecting Grady Dick. Great 3-point shooter, solid defender as well. And I think he'd be a really good fit for the Atlanta Hawks. And then I have another trade at pick 11. I have the San Antonio Spurs jumping into the lottery. It's been rumored they're going to try to jump into the lottery. I have the San Antonio Spurs sending a 2024 first-round pick via Charlotte, a 2024 second-round pick via the Chicago Bulls, and pick 33 to the Orlando Magic for pick 11 and pick 36. So in this trade, the Magic get a 2024 first-round pick, which should be a lottery pick for the Hornets, should be a lottery team next season. So they get a first-round pick that should be in the lottery next year. And then they jump up 3 spots in the second round and then get an additional second-round pick for the 11th overall pick. And so then at pick 11, I have the Spurs drafting Bilal Koulibaly from France, Victor Wembanyama's teammate. Having the two of them, I mean, this guy had some crazy athleticism, amazing dunker, and you put the former teammates together with Wemby and Bilal, I think they'd be pretty good together on the San Antonio Spurs, just like they were in France. Then at 12, I have the OKC Thunder selecting Derek Lively. They want a center. Derek Lively at 7. Is he 7 foot or 7'1" or maybe even 7'2", and a great scorer, good rebounder, averaged almost 10 and 10 last season at Duke. I think he'd be a great fit for the OKC Thunder. Then at 13, I have the Raptors selecting Cason Wallace. I like the fit for the Raptors. They might need a Fred VanVleet replacement because it's looking like Fred VanVleet will be leaving them in free agency. So I like the fit for the Raptors at 13. Then at 14, I have the Pelicans selecting Kobe Buffkin. They need a point guard, even though CJ McCollum played the point guard last season. They kind of need a real point guard. I don't know if Buffkin would be I don't really think Buffkin would be in the starting lineup, but I think that Buffkin would come off the bench and maybe eventually be a starter for the Pels. 15, I have the Mavericks selecting Leonard Miller, averaged 20 and 12 this season in the G League, and I love this kid. He's going to be, they need, he's a solid defender too. Like, that's another thing, is he's a solid defender. I mean, if you look at let me pull up his stats. He averaged, he's a solid defender. Averaged a block per game in the G League and 1.2 steals per game. Had 20 and 12. He's a solid defender. He's tall too. He's how tall is he? He's 6'10". He's a small forward too. I think he's a good 3-point shooter and a solid 3-point shooter as well. And I really do think that Dallas needs some depth and some scoring besides Kyrie and Luka and some solid defense, and that is what Leonard Miller would bring at pick 15. But then at 16, I have the Jazz selecting Jalen Hood-Schifino. He's a really solid point guard, and I think he'd be a good fit for the Jazz. So they get their second selection of the night, getting Jalen Hood-Schifino, and then also getting Taylor Hendricks. And then at 17, I have the Lakers selecting Jordan Hawkins from UConn. Won the national championship this year. I think he'd be a really good fit for the Lakers. I think he's a great 3-point shooter and will be really good in the NBA. And then at 18, I have the Heat selecting Jamie Jaquez Jr. Then at 19, I have the Warriors selecting Keontae George. At 20, I have my Houston Rockets selecting Brandon Podziemski. I love this kid, man. He's a good shooter. He's a good rebounder. Shot 44% this season from 3 at Santa Clara. He also averaged 8 rebounds per game with 19 points per game. I love the fit for the Houston Rockets at pick 20. Then at pick 21, I have the Brooklyn Nets selecting James Nnaji. He's an international player, good center, 7 foot. I think he would be great for the Brooklyn Nets. Kind of need a backup center this season. We have Claxton. You don't really have a backup center. I think he'd be a good fit. And then at 22, I have the Brooklyn Nets selecting Keegan Murray's twin, Chris Murray from Iowa. I think he's going to be a good player. You develop him well. I think Chris Murray might take a year or two, but I think Chris Murray is going to be really good. Then at 23, I have the Blazers selecting Noah Clowney. I like this guy as well. Played very good this season at Alabama, averaged 13.8 points per game and 11.2 rebounds per game. He's young though. He's 18. He's not even 19 years old yet. I mean, going into he'll just be turning 19 in training camp for the Blazers if they draft him. He's young, but he's 6'10". He's 210 pounds. He's young. He's averaged 14 and 11 this year. Averaged 1.5 blocks per game. I think he'd be a good fit for the Blazers as they need some depth off the bench, potentially. Then at 24, the Sacramento Kings selecting Jett Howard, a shooting guard for Michigan. Really good scorer. As this season with Michigan, he averaged, let me pull up his stats. This year in Michigan, he averaged, where is he? I have everybody on here. I don't know what... literally everybody's stats is on here, but there he is at 23. This year he averaged 16.1 points per game as a freshman in Michigan. Solid defensive player as well. Not great, but solid defensive player. I think he'd be a really good fit for the Kings off the bench. I don't know if he'd be getting rotation time. And then the Celtics at 25 getting this pick from the Grizzlies, and yet in last night's blockbuster deal to land Porzingis to the Boston Celtics. I'd have the Celtics drafting a point guard, Nick Smith Jr. Not really like a Marcus Smart replacement. I know they have Derek White and Malcolm Brogdon and Peyton Pritchard, although I do think Peyton Pritchard will still be traded, though I think Brogdon's injury is something to be concerned about, and Derek White is more of a shooting guard than a point guard. So in that case, I really do think they will draft a point guard. It's not like Nick Smith Jr. is going to come in right away and be a starter, but I think he would be, a solid, player off the bench for the Celtics as well. He's a solid all-around good point guard. 26 for the Pacers. I have the Pacers selecting Darack Whitehead. At 27, I have the Hornets selecting Bryce Sensabaugh from Ohio State. Had a great season at Ohio State this year, averaged 28 points per game. And then at 28, I have the Jazz selecting Maxwell Lewis for their third and final pick of the first round. And at 29, I have the Nuggets selecting Colby Jones. This reminds me of this looks like Colby Jones would remind me, or would kind of look like a Bruce Brown replacement in my idea. I mean, he's literally feels like a Bruce Brown type player. He's 6'5", just an inch taller than Bruce Brown, averaged 16 points per game, 6 rebounds per game, and 5 assists per game, and a really solid defensive player, averaging one and a half steals per game as well. Plays the same position as Bruce Brown. I think if Colby Jones is available at pick 29, the Nuggets will not hesitate and draft him at pick 29 and maybe be the replacement for Bruce Brown at pick 29. At 30, of the Clippers in the final pick of the first round, drafting Oliver Maxence Prosper, a solid player that went to where did he go this year? He went to Marquette and averaged 15 and 6, and he's 21 years old. So, I think that's it's a solid draft pick for the Clippers, although he's not going to be a part of the rotation. The Clippers have a deep rotation. But that is it for my final 2023 NBA mock draft. You guys let me know your thoughts on my mock draft. That's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace out.